It's all going to come down to the NFP number tomorrow, team. We're going to preview NFP. Let's dive in and let's talk about our market action. Andrew O'Connell here with Pristine Capital. Welcome to your market recap video. It is September 1st of 2022, first day of the brand new month. We had the S&P 500 finish up 0.31%. We had our Nasdaq QQQ basically flat at 0.04%. IWM small caps were a laggard. They were down 1.09%. Our dogs of the Dow were up 0.45%. And our ARK Innovation ETF, which was down at 1 point over 4%, will only finish down 0.38%. Pretty wild. Almost all of these indices, or really all of them, closed at the upper end of their day's range. We did end up getting a contraction in volatility and everything except the Nasdaq. You can see small cap breadth remained pretty weak, and we had 32.6% up volume, and the trend model remains at a -1. Now today was insane. It felt like 5 days in one. We had the Nvidia news that really impacted the market. I ended up buying Nvidia today, so we can talk about that shortly. But man, what a wild day. Let's take a look. We had on our heat map, healthcare was really the standout. Healthcare, whenever the market's bouncing off of like a really devastating sell-off, that's usually a great group to go after because it tends to be like a more defensive area of the market that people just love to allocate to. You can see the semiconductors, due to the news that Nvidia is going to have like an export ban or licensing requirements on shipments to China, Hong Kong, and Russia, that really got hit very hard. And the whole sector's been under pressure for several days. So at this point, I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, we've had this big sell-off. You know, when do some dip buyers start to come in and sort of pick the carcass on this group? Energy was another laggard, which is a great thing. Crude oil was down pretty big today, which is awesome. Sectors, we had utilities that are now in our #1 momentum slot. Biotech is now in our #2 slot, up 2.17% today. That was definitely a standout. And you can see this genomics fund was up today. We had consumer discretionary up today. But other than that, everything still remained weak. And the semiconductors group is now in our bottom momentum slot. Style factors, the minimum volatility style factor was the best performer, up 0.98%. So even though we technically, I guess you could call this a bounce that we got, market participants are still very, very defensive. Now let's flip over to the NFP numbers because this is going to be super important tomorrow. Now for today's action, early on in the day, it was like, oh my gosh, the Nvidia thing, weren't expecting that. Oh my gosh, now this economic data comes out stronger than expected. Oh my gosh, now another print stronger than expected. It was just the market kept getting hit. And we're in this state where the market's definitely on the back foot. Now I think we finally got at least like a short-term bottom. We saw that buyers do exist today. But for tomorrow, what's super important is, remember, we're trying to break the back of inflation here. So the Federal Reserve, effectively what they're doing is like, they are hoping that if they tighten up monetary policy enough, that'll hurt the economy. People will lose their jobs. And in people losing their jobs, you know, that'll lower inflation. So, like, it's such a perverse system that we're in. Honestly, the more you learn about it, the more jaded you become. But it's not about being jaded and whatever. We're just in it literally to trade the market. So for us, I try not to get on my soapbox too much. But essentially, in order for our stocks to go up, we need the economy to go down. So for tomorrow's print, there's a consensus estimate of 300,000 jobs created. We had a previous reading of 528K. Apparently, I just saw a tweet, retweeted it out on my timeline. Apparently, there is a seasonal thing where the August print does tend to be a miss very often. So I'm honestly, as someone that's long, I am hoping that this thing misses. And people go, oh my gosh, the economy's weak. All right, now the Fed is closer to a pivot. Boom, you know, rates will likely rise. The dollar will likely fall. And who knows, maybe stocks can get a rally. So that is going to be super important to watch. It's coming out at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow, so definitely be ready. As of today, the unemployment rate, it's only at 3.5%. So it's tough to really think like the Fed's going to pivot when the unemployment rate is that low. All right, let's take a look at these indices, and then we'll take a look at my trades for today. Let's check them out. S&P 500, This was like a miracle day. Again, it felt like 5 days in one. And look at this. So I've got a downward trend channel drawn in this teal color. And then I have another channel within a channel. So as you can see, I've been over here losing my mind, just putting channels on channels over here. But anyway, so we did end up putting in a nice hammer candle. And we have a VPOC below us. It's at 38.7, or it's at about 38.65 or 38.68 spot 5, excuse me. And could that level be tested in September? Absolutely. But we've gone really far, really fast on this sell-off. I was running the numbers earlier, and in the S&P 500, over the course of 12 trading days, so like 12 daily bars, peak to trough from the highs, we've gone down about 10%. And for the Nasdaq, peak to trough, it's been about 12%. So 12% in 12 days, that's very, very sharp. So while September might end up being a pretty weak seasonal month, this is really the perfect opportunity to get a bounce trade out of the market. And that's really what we've been playing for. The S&P 500 ended up finishing out with a marginal gain. Nasdaq, let's take a look here. Nasdaq also put in the hammer from heaven. Check this out. On this one, I guess we can say that we tested the VPOC. I mean, we didn't get perfectly on it, but I guess this is probably close enough. And earlier in the day, I was actually pretty shocked. I was like, Nvidia's down so much, and the market is actually not even doing like all that bad, all things considered. And volatility wasn't really rising, which was also pretty good. So that gave me some confidence of like, don't stop out of everything. This could literally be like the bottom. And we'll have to see if that holds true tomorrow. I mean, again, it's going to come down to the NFP print, honestly. Because the market's so wound up, we're in a negative dealer gamma condition. And basically what that means is that whichever way momentum is moving, so like if there's buy pressure in the market, dealers have to hedge by buying stocks. Same thing if people start selling, dealers have to hedge by selling stocks. So it creates a very volatile environment. Russell 2000 undercut the 50-day simple moving average. Our Dow Jones has been undercutting this 50-day simple moving average. This does not look good. Our dollar index did have a breakout today. So I'm shocked that we were able to come back from the abyss despite the dollar moving to the upside. This was insane. So, counting our blessings today. Crude oil, this is another good thing. Look at crude oil. It's getting crushed. So crude oil is back to the lows from, what is this? Yeah, from early August. And so that's a good thing. I mean, these inflation numbers, they're not going to keep moving higher if crude oil remains subdued. And the longer that rates are higher, especially mortgage rates, that is going to have an impact on the housing market. So the way that I see it is like, the more people sell off their stocks, while at the same time crude oil is going down and housing is, either staying the same or potentially going down, that means that the Federal Reserve eventually in the future is going to become more dovish. So those are the things, like on days when crude's down, that's pretty bullish for the market for me. So yeah, that is a good thing. Let's take a look at Nvidia. I did trade this name today, and it wasn't my best trade, but we'll see. I think it still might actually work. So look at this. Nvidia, I'm not going to lie, I sort of felt like a fool on this one for a little bit. Nvidia, I bought these in the pre-market for $143.85. It's not like it was a big position or anything, but I saw some news that they will be allowed to continue their exports. And I thought that in pre-market it was down like 5%. I was like, oh, maybe now that this headline came out, Nvidia is just going to like rip to the upside and go green. And, that was not the case at all. Nvidia just slipped into the abyss. And I was watching this thing. I was like, down 6, down 7, down 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This thing, I was like, are we going to have like a 20% drop in Nvidia in a day? But Nvidia ended up putting in a hammer candle, which is good. This is a really high quality company, even if they take a revenue hit. This is a store of value for people that think inflation's bad and they need to put their money somewhere. So I ended up finishing down 7.67%. This will definitely be a good name to watch for tomorrow, just in terms of overall market health. But you have to ask yourself, like, if the market remained buoyant on a day when Nvidia was down like 12% at one point, finished out 7.67%, what's the market going to do if Nvidia is positive tomorrow? That's going to be a really good contribution that we didn't have working in our favor today. Other common stock that I did enter, this was closer to the bell, was Privia Health Group. And this is a name that we traded coming off the lows over the summer. This was a really nice winner for us. And now here we are re-entering. And check this out, put in a really nice hammer candle. Again, remember this healthcare group is pretty strong. And this is still above the 20-day simple moving average. So still looks pretty solid. Then the other trade that I put on today, this was my best trade for today. I closed out the DQ. I took a small winner on this. I saw a headline that a plane was shot down in Taiwan. So I was like, oh my gosh, the data's all coming out better than expected. Now a plane gets shot down in Taiwan. Like, what the heck? Like, now we're going to war too. Like, I was like, this could get really dicey. But yeah, when I saw that, I was like, let me just get off this DQ exposure. So I closed this out for $7.30. I'd paid $6.70. At one point, this was like at $10. So this was kind of like, this was a bad sell, I think. But it is what it is. Sometimes in trading, like, you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you sell something and then it goes back up. And it's just like, whatever. It's honestly part of the game. And then this was my really good trade for today. This one, every once in a while, you just hit a trade and you go, man, that one felt good. Happens every once in a while. Sometimes you hit it and it's, not good. But take a look here. Csiq. This has been a stock. It's really just been on my radar for a couple weeks now. And everyone in our group, too, has really just been monitoring all the best stocks. And that's the good thing about trading in a group where we're all working together. We're trying to figure things out together. And whenever one of us sees a good name, we always call it out. That way, you never know. Like, sometimes someone calls out a name and I'm like, oh my gosh, that one looks really good, and I'll buy it too. So it's really beneficial. But Csiq, I took the January 20th 40 strike calls in this one for $8.74. I put here, this stock has been performing very well the entire corrective sequence in equities. Today has been the ultimate test. And this name, it was passing with flying colors. So check it out. Csiq. I just noticed, like, somewhere around lunchtime, I was like, the market's not going down. Like, this thing is just moving off the lows. Like, what's going on here? So Csiq, I noticed at that time, while most other stocks in the market were just so darn weak, Csiq early on in the day was just like a doji candle. Like, there were buyers definitely just like accumulating it. So I added on a position, and this thing, it closed technically in the red, but it put in a nice green candle. And now the 20-day simple moving average, it's caught up to price. So who knows, maybe in September, like, this name just continues to move sideways, hopefully. Well, maybe the market just continues to leg down. Maybe that allows this 50-day simple moving average to catch up a little bit. And then maybe as we head out of September, this thing breaks out. You never know. So yeah, it took some January calls here. So yeah, for tomorrow, of the utmost importance is the NFP data. But I gotta say, for everyone in the group, everyone's been handling this corrective sequence with poise. One of our members called out like the 39.10 level. And he shared a chart with us that was like, this is a key level. Like, there's a ton of volume going off here. And that ended up being the level where, like, the market pretty much held. So all of us working together and all of us just taking our own unique look at the market, it is definitely beneficial. So thank you so much for everyone that is in the group for offering your contributions. Like, you have no idea how much it honestly helps me seeing you guys contribute as well. It's amazing. So with that said, thank you so much. I will see you all tomorrow. And best of luck out there, everyone. Let's hope for a nice whiff on this NFP report.